Hi there, I'm Mark Isero, and this is Article Club. Article Club is an experiment in community reading where we read and discuss one great article every month on race, education, or culture. This month we're reading Jerry and Marge Go Large by Jason Fagone about a wonderful retired couple from Michigan who game the lottery for millions of dollars. This week is all about sharing our first impressions. Please do so by leaving a comment on today's post. If you're not quite there yet, there's still time. You can read and annotate the article and sign up for this month's discussion over at last week's post. That's at hltr.co/lottery1. To encourage you to share your first impressions, I invited avid Article Clubber Jennifer onto the podcast to share her first thoughts about the article. I'm very appreciative that she said yes. Here's our interview, and I hope you like it. Hey, Jennifer, it's Mark. Thank you so much for being on Article Club Podcast. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. I am so happy to have you on because you have been an important part of Article Club for a long time. And I wanted to get your first impressions on Jerry and Marge Go Large. But before that, I wanted to ask, what draws you to Article Club in the first place?
Because it's your club, Mark, and so anything you run and organize, I want to be a part of because I know there's going to be smart, thoughtful people. And it gives me a chance to interact with people that I don't know. I really enjoy the camaraderie and like seeing Karina, my friend I know online, some of the same people I always see when I come in. So it's a nice respite once a month to hang out with people that I feel like I know.
Yeah, and this is going to be like your fifth or sixth one. So you have been to a number of them, which I really appreciate. What do you think is the difference between, say, going into a conversation with somebody you already know versus a new person? Are there pros and cons to having somebody new versus somebody like Karina who you've seen before?
I think you can get comfortable. Like, I don't know, I've never met Karina. Like, I feel like I know her because she's been in every article club and she's always very nice. And so there's a level of comfort that I feel like, oh, hey, Karina, but I don't know her. And so, but there's a comfort I have from that. I think when there's new people, I don't know them. So it's sort of like being at a party or social situation. You might be less inclined to talk to them just because you don't know them. So I like when I see familiar faces, because we have the connection of, oh, yeah, you were at the last one, or remember that CJ Hauser one. Or so for me, I like that feeling of connection to people I actually don't know other than through the computer, which I guess if there's any plus of this pandemic is getting the chance to talk to people that I probably wouldn't ever meet or talk to in a different situation.
Yeah, what would you say to somebody who hasn't tried it on yet? Let's say that you're a total stranger, like from a different state. You found out about Article Club online. What would you say to them?
I would say if the article interests you, if you read the article and it interests you, sign up for one of your 2 meeting times because the groups are really low key. And I mean, some of the past topics have been intense and provoke discussion, but nobody's mean or rude, or, I mean, people are very polite. And you can drink during it too. If that helps, do that too. That could always help make it easier. But people are very friendly, and I've never had the experience of somebody being rude or mean. If anything, it might give you the chance to, if you're a little shy or introverted, you might feel comfortable speaking up because, like I said, people are very polite and give people the opportunity to talk.
I like your idea also of just like find an article that you might like and try it out. And so I wanted to ask you about this month's article, sorry, Jerry and Marge Go Large. Thank you for reading it sort of early and offering your first impressions. What did you think of it?
Well, I had seen this story on 60 Minutes when it was on 60 Minutes 2, 3 years ago. So when you mentioned this article, I was thinking, is this the same story I saw? So I was familiar broad strokes of it, but going back reading it, I just thought, I'm so happy to see retired senior citizens, good people, stick it to the state and get a lot of money. That was my first thought. I was very happy for that because there's so many seniors and retired people who are struggling, and I liked that.
Yeah, I love Jerry and Marge also. So what did you like about them?
That they were just, or that they are just these hardworking folks, and Jerry is a math guy and is someone who is not math centered, who's not particularly strong at it, to read the article and him just to talk about its numbers, like numbers interested him and that kind of thing, and having his son collect coins. Like, he just seems like a normal guy. If he was your neighbor, he seems like a really just good, decent human being, and they're a good, decent family. So I like when good things happen to good people, particularly in the time we're living in now. It was nice just to read something about nice, decent people.
Yeah, I liked how hard they worked also. They worked hard when
Hmm.
they were working, and then they worked
Right.
hard when they had their store. Like the explanation of how they went every single day, including Christmas, to their
Right.
store. And then when they retire, they're not exactly retiring because they have this legal scheme for the lottery, but then they still have to look through every single of their thousands and thousands of tickets. It's pretty amazing. And then meanwhile, Marge is on the side like clearing logs and cutting down trees. It's all very, very interesting.
This isn't a story of they hit a senior life crisis and went and bought 27 Mercedes and a mansion. I don't think I'm giving anything away there, but they're just, yeah, I liked that about them. They weren't, I would say they're not greedy.
Did you like this article, especially if you compared it to some of the other ones? Like, how is this article different or the same? Did you like it as much or less? And you can be honest with this.
At this point, we're in July, so given everything that's gone on in the country the past 6 months and what we've read, it was a nice, light article. So I liked it because I like the people, and for me, it was nice to have something not as heavy. So, so there was that, and I liked these characters. Now, if you brought an article with the alt-right woman from the last one, and like this was her story about this alt-right woman who was sticking it to Michigan, I probably would be less interested because I didn't really find her compelling.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of
But
alt-right women who are trying to win the lottery.
you never know. You just haven't found that article yet. We don't know if there are any. But yeah, for me, this was just nice levity. I needed something light because I think as much as I like the other articles, they were heavier. Although C.J. Hauser, that is my second favorite behind this one. I
Uh-huh.
love the C.J. Hauser one.
Yeah,
So
that was a great one as well. Some article clubbers are asking like, okay, because it's a fun article, then somehow we might not have as much to talk about. And so going into the discussion in a couple of weeks, like, do you have a sense of what you might want to talk about or what questions or topics you might want to bring up?
yes. So I would be curious to know, depending on who's in the group I'm in, if you have any like math, science folks who are part of that, I would be curious to hear from them how they read this, how they related to this article.
Mhm.
If they read it going, yeah, I understand, I could have done that too, as an engineer, computer science, whatever. I would be curious to find that out. If none of the people who are part of the group or consider themselves numbers lover folks, then the question of, even though they weren't they weren't breaking the law, they weren't doing anything legally wrong, does anybody have some moral objection about that?
I really like both of those questions, and especially the second one too, because if this were not sort of taking from the state, like let's say that the lottery was directly from a group of people, like at your school, then
Hmm.
morally, I would have much more scrutiny than an entire state lottery. And it's interesting because the writer he just is so positive about Jerry and Marge, and therefore we are so positive about Jerry and Marge that we wouldn't think about the moral questions.
But
Also,
even if he had been negative about Jerry and Marge, I would probably disagree. I mean, as it says in the article, they didn't do anything illegal.
yeah, and the state already, the whole scheme is from the state doing this gambling scheme, really for poor people to buy a lot of tickets and then to like redistribute it to schools. But the schools, as you said in the annotations, aren't getting very much money either.
Right. I mean, one of the reasons I voted for the lottery way back when was I thought, oh, this is going to help California education. And it's like every year, California cries poverty. And I'm thinking, how is that possible? Yeah. So I don't understand.
Yeah, so that's probably something that we can talk about too. And another thing that I wanted to ask is last week, Jessica had a couple questions for the author. Now, the author is not going to be in the discussion, but we'll do a podcast episode next Sunday. And so,
Hmm.
do you have any questions for the author right now that I could include?
Let's see, this article's a couple years old. I think it's 2018. So I'd like to know, what is he still in touch with them? How are they doing? What are they doing? Are they healthy? What are their lives like now? Jerry really was bothered by, he didn't want to be viewed as a cheat or a bad guy or something. He didn't do anything wrong in his mind. And I'm wondering, is that what the author thinks too? Does he agree that like Jerry didn't do anything wrong from his own personal opinion? Has he heard of any other stories like this? I mean, I'm sure states might have cracked down once this got public, but states are sloppy. But has he heard of any other things like this happening in other states?
Okay, I have one more question for you, which is, you are deeply committed to Article Club, so thank you. Do you have a tip or a suggestion for how it can get better or grow or just improve?
Well, purely from a selfish point of view, I wish it could be more often, but I know that would require, I know you have this thing called a job, so you don't really have the time. But I enjoy it, and so when we do it once a month, I get really excited about it. So I wish we could do it more often, and I look forward to when this pandemic ends to like meet people face to face, because I think you've told me how much it's grown, how many more people are signing in and being part of it. I wonder too, and again, I know this is a time bandwidth thing for you. I know you do like 2 sessions on the Sunday. I just wonder if there could be more, and you probably will say no because there isn't the time. But I would like to see, like, if you did it Saturday and Sunday, like I'd like to rotate in and out of groups to see, right? I tend to do the same time most of the time. It would be interesting to be part of different groups to hear what people have to say. Other than my selfish reasons of wanting more, I think it's great. I think you really have a good mix of people, interesting people who are part of it, and kudos to you that you have good, nice people signing in, and we haven't had any really out there comments or discussions or things.
Well, kudos to you, Jennifer, because you are one of those kind, nice people. And thank you so much for being part of Article Club. And thank you so much for sharing your first impressions. Thanks so much for taking your time out of this weekend. And I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for including me.
I want to thank Jennifer yet again for coming onto the Highlighter Article Club podcast and for sharing her first impressions of Jerry and Marge Go Large. Now I invite you to do the same. Also, if you want to reach out to me, please email mark@highlighter.cc. And if you want more information about Article Club in general, the website is an easy one to remember. We are at articleclub.org. Happy reading, everybody, and have a great week.